I haven't got one, but imagine I'm wearing an SS cap. Yeah, I'm wearing the cap of an SS Obersturmführer. I'm dressed as a Nazi, and it's 1941, and I've just been promoted to head of Sachsenhausen, the pathology lab. My name's SS Obersturmführer Dr. Viktor. My task is to select some subhumans. I've been pushed into this position, placed in this position. I've welcomed it. It's been a promotion for me. I was previously working as under another doctor in Buchenwald, and I've been moved. So I've learned my trade there. I'm happy. I don't tell anyone, but I'm not actually a doctor. I know it's crazy, but what I did was I did my degree in Tübingen, which was my uncle Victor's alma mater. It's his university. He got me in, and I did law. I wasn't very good. I didn't think it was very interesting, but because the Nazis took over, so I did my degree in 34. Because the Nazis had taken over, I realised that I could jump ahead where I should be, by being really horrible. That the Nazis were promoting people who were horrible, and I went, "Wow, that's good." I should tell you, just so you know who I am, something happened to me when I was a child that I find impossible to talk about, and I was some people I trusted hurt me a lot and for a long time, and so that's it, right? So I've tried to not think about that and just get on with my life. So suddenly I'm allowed to be horrible, and I'll get promoted. And I remember, I confess, I remember the abuse I suffered, and I take it out on other people. And so what happened was I was offered a chance just to help in the concentration camps, sorting out people, just sifting through the species and chucking which ones decide to go in the gas chambers, that kind of stuff. Yeah, picking out. And I was fascinated by the people with the tattoos, right? Interestingly, at the time. And so what I did was they allowed me to experiment on this guy, and what I did was I cut his tattoos off while he was still alive. I got to 3 guys to hold him down, and then I just cut the tattoos off of him while he was alive to see what happened. And it was an empowering. I felt so empowered. It was really weird. I cut through the shame of the deed that I was doing, the suffering of this subhuman that was in front of me, because he was not human. He was subhuman. I'd been taught that he was subhuman in every way, from my very upbringing, my conditioning as abuse, and then the way that I was raised in Tübingen and by my family. It was all towards this, that it was okay to abuse people. So this guy I cut the tattoos off when he was alive was just a subhuman. I didn't care. And it's now 1941. And that's the guy who's talking to you, and he still does. I still don't care. I like it. It's good fun. Once you master that you have the power to make someone a subhuman, it's so empowering. You feel brilliant, and I'm just addicted. And then I was given, well, they gave me the tools to, I was getting in a candy shop. Go to that concentration camp and abuse people, and if you want to add to your tattoo collection, you crack on. And so I did. I got a really good set of tattoos in jars. I used to keep them in like formaldehyde, and I carried some with me from my favourite ones from my career as a collection. And then when I was head of pathology at last, I was free to really let myself loose and get some decent stuff. So I used to tell I had this capo, and I instruct anyone with a tattoo, send them, let me see it. Yeah. And then, of course, I'd like it. Even if I didn't like it, usually I'd still cut it off. Yeah. Just because I could. I'd sometimes been in if it didn't come off properly, and or the bloke bled, or he often when I found one, they screamed a lot. I did find that off-putting, and there was a couple that almost disturbed me, but not enough. Oh yeah, happy days. So anyway, I'm rambling. I apologise. So the reason that I was placed into Sachsenhausen was to specifically with an instruction from Bruno Begger's team in Stuttgart University for a collection of skeletons. Right? So that the Nazis had, in order to teach everyone what I'd learned, that it's okay to dehumanize people because then it's fun and you feel powerful. They were going to build a museum of skeletons showing all the different types of subhumans so that we could identify them. The idea that German families with their kids could have a day out there. There'd be probably notes on the walls and there'd be a gift shop, that kind of thing. So it seemed like a good idea. That ties right into the ideology which I'm following of the National Socialists, which that seems like right to me. We're the kings. Everyone else is just subhumans. Everyone. Okay. So off I go. I do quite well. I think they wanted 130 skeletons, and my order was for 30. If I could manage it, but they didn't want doubles. They wanted specific. They were quite specific what they wanted, especially skull shapes. And I made quite a lot of mistakes. I would take someone, if they didn't have tattoos, I'd take someone, I'd put them in the pathology lab. I would skeletonize them. I usually killed them first, but only because they just jump around too much otherwise. So I'd skeletonize the body and then assess it, and I'd go, no, that's not good enough. That's not what they wanted, so I'd wasted my time. Really annoying. So I just have to call the capo, take the remains away, get rid of this shit, and let's try again tomorrow. We've got a long time. And I was quite pleased. I think I fulfilled the order. I did what I was asked, and certainly some of the guys who came through, Reinhard Heydrich was a friend of the family. He was really pleased. And so someone like Heydrich, I looked up to. It meant a lot to me that he was impressed with the work I was doing. So I was really pleased. And then it all started, and things just went downhill for me. So you can imagine I'm doing this job. I'm really happy. Right? My tattoo collection is growing. I'm quite pleased with it. I'm not sure what to do with it, to be honest. It's almost too big now. I'm not sure what to do with it. But nonetheless. So it's getting to the end of the year, and suddenly I just got ill. I just started feeling I got ill. I got diagnosed with tuberculosis is what happened. And I had to leave the job. And that was fun. I kind of done it. It wasn't fun anymore. It just wasn't fun. Yeah, somehow the screams just got boring. Yeah, to watch all this suffering. It was, yeah. But also something else happened then when I had tuberculosis. And I realized what had happened. I had a moment of realization when I was ill, I had a long time to sort out the tuberculosis when I was in the hospital just resting, going through this process. I really looked after the Nazis, really cared for me. It was lovely. They were lovely people, really lovely. They're so kind. People slag them off, honestly. When you needed help, they were there for me, and that was good enough for me. And so they helped me through. And then there was a moment when I realized that God existed and that my Catholic upbringing had been right. And that I don't know what it was. It was almost like I was struck by lightning. And I felt shame. Yeah, real shame. Real shame about that character that I'd done. And I didn't know what to do. I knew that I couldn't kill myself because of some of the stuff I'd learned from my uncle Viktor about the power of how the psychology was being corrupted. They knew that energy just goes on. They knew that life after death, that stuff, that eternal life is true and that all this is not real. And that I sort of coupled all this. I found that out, and then that was what sent me over the edge. When Uncle Viktor came to see me. That's right, I'd forgotten, in the sanatorium. He came to see me and he let something slip like that. It was about the energy going on and how I should be okay with it because they had control, and not to worry when I died, because if I died, because he'd make sure that I got slipped into another Nazi and that kind of stuff. So, but I realized that it was actually they were fucking around with God, and that kind of broke me because I know where to go. I couldn't kill myself because I knew that would just throw me back into the hands of the Nazis. And that my protein would never escape this trap of abuse, pain and suffering that I would lock myself in. So when I was well, I went to work in the battalions on the front line. I was looking after this artillery regiment. It was a good position. We were quite, they were actually brave soldiers. They were good people. They weren't there was an SS battalion that weren't rampant Nazis. They were all right, good guys. And they looked to me as like because I knew stuff about the Nazis, that they looked to me to help them at the end of the war, to make sure that they didn't get murdered by the Russians or that, but there was going to be fucking terror coming. And they looked to me to help them. And I think that I did by trying to bring them to God as I understood it. And so I survived the war, and it was all right. And I'd really helped people in that. I made some good friends in the SS battalions, in the artillery regiments, where the real people were, to be honest. I hadn't realised quite what real life was until I'd fought on the front lines with the artillery, behind the artillery lines. It was frightening, but good times. Comradeship, comradeship. You couldn't beat it, and I realised quite how corrupted I'd become by the Nazis. When the war ended, I was concerned that my career would be under scrutiny. And I wanted to bury it and just do good. So I just I set myself up in practice. I felt that although I'd learned my skills through sadistic means, they were still valuable skills. I learned them at the sharp edge. I learned things the hard way. I'd autodidact. I taught myself to be a doctor. So I set myself up in medical practice in a village called Hazelrun, next door to Luningen, where my family all live. And so I felt comfortable there. I don't want to talk about my marriages. I got married twice. You don't want to know. It's different. That's another story. I had no kids. So I spent 20 years as a GP in Hazelrun because I slipped through the net. They didn't spot me. Lucky. All you had to do at the time to denazify Germany was to go and see some films, and then that was it. Those films of the bodies being bulldozed up, which I'd ordered that sort of stuff myself. It wasn't shocking to me. Nonetheless, to experience it with other people in the cinemas was an uncomfortable experience. But because I had learned about the truth of God, I felt I managed it. I could manage my consciousness. And that as long as I now behaved well, that God forgave me. And my God, He really had forgiven me. So I had 20 years as a doctor, and it was a happy times. I had really nice times. We were trying to get over the war in Germany, and in my local village we did well. It's up near Bremen on the Dutch border, and people were kind. The Dutch people were kind. There were some lovely people because they knew that it was about sharing across borders and boundaries and breaking down borders and boundaries. That how the world was going to be when we were free again of this pain that I particularly felt it is. Human pain of being abused as a child, what the damage it does to society as a whole. And then, right at the end of my career, right at the end, it's 1964, and the public prosecutor of Luningen knocks on my door, and he says, "Viktor, there's a problem. Your past is about to be exposed in the Annenherb unit. They've realised that Bruno Begger slipped through that cunning dragnet of the denazification process, and they've got him, and he's going to put him on trial. We've started an investigation, and he's fingered you as one of the suppliers of the skeletons for the collection in Stuttgart." Oh, you can imagine how, and I almost welcomed it. I think I almost welcomed it when he said it, and I said, okay. I said, okay, let's just do the investigation, do it. But he was very kind, probably too kind. I think he put his career on the line for the move that he made. And he wrote a letter downplaying my stuff, even though he knew what I'd done because we were close friends and I'd talked about it. I told him, the close friends, I found it easier to say who I was because they'd now know who I am now, the level of forgiveness that I'd achieved in myself, and as an example to how others could live. And he recognised that, and it was a beautiful moment of friendship. He put his career on the line. So wrote a letter saying, downplaying my role, saying I can't do this, this is impossible, and try to kick it upstream. And then he did. He succeeded. He got a letter back from his boss saying he was going to move it up to Frankfurt because he agreed that it was a difficult task that he was given. And I was incredibly grateful to both the people who were involved in that process. Because then I died a year later in 1965. I died and I'm buried locally. And many people there, one or two probably still alive, remember me fondly. And that's enough. That's enough. And that's the story of Viktor Leve. That's my story. And I'm grateful to be able to tell it to you. Because it's hard to tell a story about a Nazi that ends with a happy ending, isn't it? And even though it's sad for Viktor, because he struggled on, in lots of things he struggled. He succeeded. He was a success. And I'm grateful to be able to tell his story, to settle the account that began all that time ago as the man who was born in 1964 when that investigation began, because I'm investigating Viktor Leibig Sr., who's the man who designed the Momentum of Love on our behalf. This story that lies behind it is the healing that needs to happen, I think, to see the small story and the detail that happens. So I invite you to look at the story that's about a cautionary tale about SS Dr. Viktor Leibig. Look at that, because that's our way in now to the proper quantum lessons, where we'll come to the momentum of love. Because you've got to humanize the information that comes to you and know its provenance, because Dr. Viktor Leibig's information contains data that was gained from experiments in the Holocaust. So it's hard-won information that we have. And here's the last piece of the puzzle I want you to just think about, and if there's any action you want to take, you should take it. The Holocaust was approved by the Jewish Zionists in Europe. They approved it because they knew that energy exists, goes on, and that this is just protein and character. They agreed with the National Socialists who are building this Third Reich that they could build the Third Reich, and they could build it on the blood of Jews, because the story would enable them to have a homeland, and people would feel sorry for them, and they could have this. They could have a reason why the world should give them someone else's country. That's colonialism, isn't it? That's why this is game over for Israel. That you're moving out immediately. Just go back to Europe and to America and wander the land again. Look for kindness, and you'll find it everywhere. Forgiveness everywhere you go. But abandon your homes. Just pack up what you need and go. And Palestinians, go and live there. Yeah, because it's finished. The Holocaust was a Zionist plot. So the last excuse that Israel's got has gone. And in that moment, our moment of forgiveness has arrived. Because now, what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to go to Israel and kill everyone? Is that what you're feeling instinct to do? Or are you thinking, let's build a new planet and let's start a new earth? Because it's the message of forgiveness. You've got to do this simple move. Look at Israel. Look at Benjamin Netanyahu. And forgive him. Despise his behavior. Despise it. As a parent despises a child who's disappointed them in a really, really bad way. They don't despise the child ever. They despise the behavior that they've been conditioned into. And imagine the parents of Dr. SS Obersturmführer, Dr. Viktor Leibig, which was Joseph Leibig, Viktor Leibig's elder brother. I don't know anything about him. But imagine how he felt about his son and which part of his career he'd be proud of. Because I'm proud of Viktor Leibig if he was my son. Because he learned the lesson of forgiveness. Okay? And that's it. Killing stops. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? It's the truth. Can you feel that? It's peace. Welcome to New Earth.